I remember going to see my first movie in the theater. It was a re-release of E.T., one of my parents' favorite movies. I only stayed for about half the movie because I was overwhelmed. I started crying. I couldn't bear to watch E.T. be tortured by the scientists in the movie. But thinking about it, the empathy and the sympathy that I felt for that silicone puppet is a testament to the emotional power of filmmaking and the power that creators have, storytellers have, to make the audience feel something. Growing up, my parents are both artists. My dad's a painter and my mom's a writer and a graphic designer, so I was exposed to tons of movies and books and just art from all around the world. And all of these different pieces of art had a story that they were trying to convey. As a kid, I would make stop motion videos with a camera that I got for, I think it was my 10th birthday. I would make Lego sets and use the characters and just move them little by little, taking pictures every time. Seeing them come to life in front of my eyes, seeing that sequence played out and those characters moving and fighting each other was nothing short of magic to me. I remember the time where it really occurred to me the power that I had as a filmmaker, as a storyteller. It was after I'd made a film sophomore year of high school. I remember showing the film to my mom when I was done, and she started crying about halfway through. And granted, she's more than a little bit biased, but seeing the effect that a story I could tell, seeing the effect that that had on another person was such a big moment for me in showing me that, what I'm doing really has a voice. Films are much more than, 24 pictures flashing by a projector in a second. It's trying to establish a connection between the people watching the screen and those behind it. For the past 3 summers, I've gone to Tijuana, Mexico with the group Esperanza International, and we've gone to build houses for homeless families there. We stayed for a week each time. But this last summer, I decided to bring a camera with me to document the trip. Being in Tijuana with the camera, I realized that I started wanting to learn more about people. I wanted to get to know their stories. I remember talking to a man who had lived in the United States for 40 years. He'd, built a life for himself, had a family, but then he was deported because of a parking ticket. One day we went to the border wall, and that was an incredible experience to see the difference between the United States side and the Mexico side. And the wall itself was decorated by people who would come and paint, and I'm sure it's completely different now because it changes almost every year. But I tried to capture as much of that as I could because some of the stuff on there was really moving. But I think what's most important to take away from all of it is that, by looking at these people I met, you would never know who they are or what led them to the point they're currently in. There's so much animosity between people who are different from us today because we just don't know. We just don't know who they are and what makes them, so it's easy to say they're different from me, therefore I don't necessarily have the empathy that I would if it was one of my own family members. But in reality, we all go through very similar struggles, and really the only way you can find that out is by experiencing it and talking with people, sharing stories. As a filmmaker myself, my primary goal is to entertain other people. I want people to enjoy watching the films that I make, but I also think it's important to send messages that will better the world. There are so many stories I want to tell, so many issues and topics that I want to examine through film. And if I can make somebody stop and, consider an alternate viewpoint or another situation, even for just a second, then I'd consider it a success.